back to Yirara.
What's up, Yara fan? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Yirara2u. I'm Miss Tina and you're joining me for What's That Sound? So, can anyone remember the two hints from the previous episode? The first hint is it's a type of drinking tube, and the second one is it is a food dressing, and the two main flavors are barbecue and tomato. So, the words are straw and sauce. Straw, sauce. So, I'll give you a few seconds for you to guess what sound these two have in common. Alright, time's up. So the sound for today is, drumroll please. Or for straw and or for sauce. You can see the or sound is spelled differently. The or in straw is AW, and the straw in sauce is AU. So AW for straw and AU for sauce. So remember that for the next time you're reading, writing, or spelling. I'll see you all soon. I'll give you a few hints for the next episode. The first one is you come to this every weekday to learn, and the second one is there's a king and there's also a... So be kind, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye now.
Hello, my name is Mr. Kieran. Today for numeracy, I'm going to be showing you how charts show information visually. So we've got some information up here. This is a survey that I conducted of a group of students to try and find out whether they liked football, baseball, basketball, tennis, or another sport. Now I went around and asked the students and got them to list which one they preferred or was their favourite sport. So what I did was I put it into what we call a table. I put the sport here on this left side, and on the right side the number of students that was their favourite sport. And at the end I had 23 that liked football. Baseball, there was 19 of the group that was their favourite sport. Basketball, we had 18. Tennis, we had 15 was their favourite. And another sport, which they didn't say, they just put down they liked another sport other than the 2, 3, 4 listed, was 9. Now, this is a little bit tricky to read because this is really hard. You need to look really carefully. If you look real carefully, you can see that football had the most amount of students that liked it because it was 23. That's the biggest number there at the top, 23. And the sport that had the least amount of people that liked it as their favourite was tennis at just 15. Now, to show this really clearly and simply, we can do what we call a bar graph, which is what I've got over here. So this shows what's on this visually. So as we can see here, I've got football and I've got a tower going all the way up. The numbers are on this side. Now if we look here, this tower goes all the way up to 23, which shows the amount of students that liked football. Then I've got my baseball tower, which is the next one. That goes all the way up to number 18 and sits on 18. Then I've got basketball, goes all the way up to number 19 to show that 19 students thought that basketball was their favourite sport. Then I've got tennis, goes all the way up to 15 to show that 15 liked it. And then other, we've got between the 8 and the 10 is 9. So that tower goes up to number 9 high. So as you can see, each different sport, the number of students that liked it as their favourite is represented by these towers. Now if I look at that, it's really easy for me to say, okay, football is the tallest tower. Therefore football is the one that got the most like. Let's write this down. Football is the most liked sport. Now I can see that quite easily on my bar graph here. Yep, different types of sport go along this axis here, which is called the x-axis. And then up the side I've got the number of students that said it was their favourite, which we call the y-axis. Whenever we draw a bar graph, we need to have an x-axis and a y-axis. We also need to have a title. The title's here. Name your favourite sport survey. Now I actually did a survey, took the results from the survey over here and drew them onto this bar graph using the computer, which is an easy way of doing a bar graph. But now I'm going to show you how you can draw a bar graph. So I'm going to draw a bar graph to show my table of data that I've taken from my survey. So in order to draw a bar graph, the first thing we need is a title. The title of this is going to be favourite sport. And what I need to draw first is that's the y-axis. The x-axis always goes across the bottom. So on the y-axis I'm going to draw my numbers. 24. Now that I've got my numbers, I can simply draw each tower. So I'm going to start with football. And I'm going to write down what it is underneath each time. So we're going to write football underneath the tower. Now what I'm going to do is draw my baseball, which is 19. And then all we need to do is continue on, going across, drawing each of the towers, and that's how I draw my bar graph. So I make sure I always put what it is that I'm drawing and how many on the y-axis. So this is x-axis, what it is across here, and y-axis is how many. And then I can see quite clearly that more people liked football than basketball because the football tower is taller than the baseball tower.
Hi everyone, this is Miss Andrea. I want to talk to you about writing and sentences. So the sentences are the way you put your words together. And when you're writing a story, if you use just simple sentences, it's really boring. If you say, I have a dog, we went to the swimming hole, it was a sunny day, it's really monotonous and childish. So I want you to start learning how to write the 3 different types of sentences. And they are, firstly, simple sentences, and then compound sentences, and lastly, complex sentences. So the simple one is just very simple. You know what that word means. Compound means you put 2 sentences together, and complex is like the word complicated. It's a different kind of sentence altogether. So let's start with a simple sentence. It has a subject, which could be a person, a place, or a thing. It has a verb. Do you remember what verbs are? They're doing words like running, sitting, swimming, and an object. So that involves what the person and the verb are relating to. So here's an example. Cayenne, she's the subject, she's the person. Through, which is the verb, the doing thing. And the ball, that's the object. So that is the most simple sentence, and that's where we'll start. So everyone, we're going to talk about the second one, the compound sentences. So that's joining 2 simple sentences together. And we use these joining words. for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Here's an example. The two simple sentences are, she ran to the creek was flooded. We can make it a compound sentence by joining those together. She ran to the creek, but the creek was flooded. We're showing a relationship between the two simple sentences, even though they can stand alone. Okay, now the complex sentence, the most complicated one, and particularly in senior you should be aiming for this. Now, a complex sentence has two parts, but they're not simple sentences alone, they depend on each other. So one part is the main part, and the second part is probably explaining the first part. So, we're using words like after, although, as long as, because. That's the most common one for a complex sentence. Even if, in case, though, until, whatever, all of these words. And they provide a transition, a movement from one part to the next part. So, it usually involves a time, a place, or a cause and effect relationship. So I couldn't get into the dorm because the house parents had left the keys downstairs. You see how the because joins the sentence together. A little bit different. She went riding on the horse. That's the main part, it's the important part of the sentence, because, one of these joining words, it was a beautiful sunny day. So this part's less important. The fact that the day was sunny was not so important as the main part of the sentence was she went riding on the horse. Okay everyone, that's a little introduction to sentences, and when you write, try and use a little variety in your sentences because it's very boring if you just use those little short sentences all the time. Don't make your writing a little bit more colourful and interesting. Okay, good job, bye.
Thanks for joining us for another Bible story. Jesus told many stories to help us understand God and His love for all people. Today's story is about a party, a great feast, a flash dinner, a big feed. We're going to read from the book of Luke. A rich man and his wife decided to have a big party, a great feast. They told their servants what to do to get everything ready. Everything was ready for the big dinner, but no one came to the party. The rich man gave his servant the list and sent him to remind the invited guests to come to the party. The servant took the invitation to a rich man with a big farm. The rich man said, "I've bought a new farm, new paddocks, and I have to go and see them. I cannot come to the party." The servant took the invitation to another man. This man said, "I have just bought 5 pairs of bullocks. I'm going to check them out. I cannot come to the party." The servant went to the home of another invited guest. This man said, "We just got married. I cannot come to the party." The servant went back to the rich man and his wife and told them that none of the people on the invitation list were coming to the party. The man was very angry. He told the servant to go into the streets and invite the poor people, the crippled ones, the blind and the lame. The servant found a blind man and showed him the way to the party. He found a lame man in another street and helped him walk to the rich man's house. The servant saw a crippled lady by the stone wall and helped her get to the party. The poor, the lame, the crippled and the blind came to the big party, but there was room for more. the man told his servant to go outside and invite the people on the roads and community tracks. The servant found a poor couple, a husband and wife, and invited them to the big party. Then he found a poor widow, a lady whose husband had passed away, and invited her too. He invited a poor man living along the road to the big party. The man and his wife were very happy to welcome the new guests and said that none of those who made excuses will get even a little bit of the big party. Something to think about. Jesus has sent invitations to all of us. He's inviting us to a big party in heaven. You can find his invitations in the Bible, but sadly, some people are still making excuses. What excuses are you giving? What things are you putting ahead of Jesus? You might like to share this story with family or read it from a Bible in your language. Before we go, let's talk to our brother Jesus. Let's pray.
Let us bow our heads and pray. Today I ask that you guide us to be settled and calm, that you give us courage and strength, and bless us with protection as we continue on the path of knowledge. We thank you for each day that is given to us as we learn and grow together. One family, God's family. Amen.
So that explains it.
Before she met my father, I'd like to say.
So that explains.
First and foremost, I want you to show appreciation for the Contact staff today who have offered their space and their time. Give them a round of applause, please. Secondly, I also want you to thank the cooks who have prepared our food today. Clap for them. biggest thanks go to you, Mum. Alright, at the end of the day, this school today, everything is about you. Alright, it's not about us. We just enjoy and have the pleasure of teaching you every day. Alright, it's our blessing to be here today, and I hope you feel the same way.
Hello from here at Yirara College, wherever you are, up the top or in the middle or down south. And here at school, I've been thinking about some of the Bible stories, not about men, but about ladies. When I was little, I thought the Bible heroes were men, but so many of the great heroes in the old stories are ladies. Many, many. There was a lady called Hagar. She was from Egypt. And old Abraham had his first baby with her. And Hagar, she's the first one in the whole Bible to give God a name. She calls God the one who sees me. She's the first one to give God a name. Her name is Hagar. She's from Egypt, which is in Africa. And she ended up being a single mom, poor thing. And she was a slave. But God saw her and she knew it. Who knows what is a creed? A creed. A creed. It says what you think about something. So, you might have a creed. You might say, I'm going to make a little creed about cars. I believe cars have 4 wheels. I believe cars have a steering wheel. I believe cars are made in Japan. Mobile telephones. I believe mobile telephones are used to make telephone calls. I believe mobile telephones are made in Japan. They had a creed about God, and I'm going to teach it to you now. This is their old creed about God. I believe in God. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven, maker of heaven, maker of earth, maker of earth. I believe in Jesus. I believe in Jesus, His only Son, our Lord, His only Son, our Lord, conceived by the Spirit, conceived by the Spirit, born of Virgin Mary, born of Virgin Mary. And then He really suffered. And then He really suffered. Under Pontius Pilate. Under Pontius Pilate. Killed on the cross. Killed on the cross. He died and was buried. He died and was buried. He went down to hell. He went down to hell until the third day. Until the third day. And then He rose again. And then He rose again. And went to be with God. And went to be with God. which is everywhere there is, which is everywhere there is. One day he will come. One day he will come to judge the living and the dead. To judge the living and the dead. I believe in the Spirit. I believe in the Spirit. The Holy Christian Church. The Holy Christian Church. The communion of saints. The communion of saints. The forgiveness of sins. The forgiveness of sins. The resurrection of the body. The resurrection of the body. And the life everlasting. And the life everlasting.
Student Representative Council have their first meeting for Term 1. Another great Friday Fun Day, and Clontarf holds their first morning tea for 2014. Good morning, I'm Chesney Martin with Yirara2u. Wednesday afternoon saw the first Student Representative Council meeting for Term 1 in the large boardroom. Also, Clontarf held their first morning tea for the year in the Clontarf Academy room. Staff and the Clontarf students enjoyed and relaxed morning tea. Friday afternoon, Fun Day, saw a sports competition with the winning house being Kramer. Everyone had a great time with the event, finishing off with a refreshing papa juice. Now to sport, here's Christella and Gloria.
Last week saw a busy time for sport here at Yirara. Last Thursday, the Melbourne Demon Players visited Yirara to perform a footy clinic on Darvel. The session was great success, with footy boots being donated to the college. Last Friday, a Clontarf super training session took place with the Melbourne Demons coaches at Traeger Park Oval, and 5 senior students took part in the Clontarf leadership activity session with the Geelong Cats Indigenous Players at Centralian Middle School. The students involved were Kurt Abbott, Aussie Daylight, Justin Gibson, Preston Harrison and Lorenzo William.
And last Saturday saw the Under-16 Youth Football Carnival kick-off at Traeger Park Oval, which involved 12 of our students, with Sunday bringing the Clean Up Australia Day at the Alice Springs Council lawns. 8 of our fellows from Year 9 and 10 took part in this. Unfortunately, there were no sports results for basketball as it was cancelled for the fellas, and the Women's League won by Wallabies 52 to Memo Magic 31. 4 of the girls played footy at Traeger Park: Christella, Desirelle, Shannara and Danica. Christella scored 3 goals. The score was 4-3. It was a great game for all the young ladies.
Today's cool and cloudy and top of 33. Also weekend and Monday will be sunny and top of 36. Back to you, Chesney.
That's Yirara2u for Friday, the 7th of March 2014. Have a great weekend and don't forget your ABCs.